Welcome to another episode of Life Talks. Today, it's 1 o'clock in the morning. I'm in the other room. I got my tank top and my pajamas on. I'm here with Frank Stevens. I said, let's get a talk going. Valentine's Day just ended,
It's
and I figured that'd be a good place to
still
start.
going here. We got another hour and 45 minutes.
What's your thoughts on Valentine's Day?
What's that? My thoughts. I don't know. I like Valentine's Day. My fucking wife hates it every year. She tells me don't buy me anything.
I hate it.
Um, and like I told you just a second ago, I'll share the story. Um, you know, for 21 years now, she tells me don't ever fucking buy me anything. It's a made up holiday. It's consumerism and blah blah blah. And every single year I buy her a dozen roses. Um, and it's not because of the roses; it's because of the little card. And I made a poem for her a long time ago. It said, "What's the poem? How's it start off? When I get to heaven, here's what I'll do: I'll drill a little hole and I'll pull you through. But if you go the other way, I'll dig through hell and there I'll stay. I'm with you, come thick or thin. Let the flames come pouring in. And if it ever gets too hot, Pepsi Cola hits the spot." So every year, it's not, she doesn't know this, but it's not really about the roses. It's about the little card that says Pepsi Cola hits the spot, right? Because and so it's our little connection. I
It-
I get lucky every year. It's a good thing.
what I
Right
like
about
about
this
that,
time.
see, that's the thing. I like at least that's cool. You have that. Like, what I definitely agree with her perspective. Like, as far as like it's become so corporatized, and I feel like I mean, it's not even just Valentine's Day. It's really like birthdays and like everything. Like, and listen, birthdays. Hear out my whole spiel on it. Like, I've been playing with this idea today. I think you should pick 3 days a year, random days at the beginning of the year, and those are going to be the days that you're going to celebrate whatever person. If your
Mhm.
partner, you're going to celebrate, and the other person doesn't know what those 3 days are. And the same thing goes for your partner with you. And I feel like that kind of thing is just like you're playing with different ideas. Whereas like Christmas comes around, or Valentine's. Oh,
You
I
get
gotta get
told when
this.
you yeah.
You get pulled into this, like, I got to do something. And I think what kills it is there's no spontaneity. I mean, you may be able to get different gifts, but like there's this obligation. And it doesn't mean that you can't play with it. If people like the Valentine's Day and all that, it's fine, but I just feel like it kills spontaneity. And it's like it's kind of dead, and it's kind of like it's become so corporatized.
Mm, I don't know if I agree. I think some there's a part of me that agrees with that, but I think people would tend to forget, like especially when you've been in a relationship for a long time, and you know, um, the day to day routine becomes a grind, and maybe maybe you just don't show enough appreciation for the person that you're with, and you say things like "I love you," but in my opinion, that really means nothing, right? I
Yeah.
mean, love's more about integrity and respect and
Yes.
honor and loyalty, right? And so those words have real meaning. And so telling someone that no matter what happens, even if they go to hell, you're going to be with them, right? That means way more than anything else. That's uh, you know, and people need to hear those things. People don't need to hear "I love you." I mean,
Yeah.
it's just it's just a word. It's used so much. And if I could give anyone an idea of how to treat their loved one, it would be to never tell them that you love them. Let them know that you honor them. Let them know that you would do anything for them, that you'll be there for them no matter what happens in their life. But don't end it with "I love you." And it's so much more powerful. It's because I think it's obvious, like you said, it's corporatism. I think that even though we're reminded that we need to do these things and share, like Christmas, is wonderful because it's not just a corporation reminding me to give things to the people I love. I actually want to do those things, and I've had those moments in my life where I was busy doing other things. And Then I got to see people talk about it at work, and they're talking about what their plans are for Christmas, and the fact that they set up a big tree, and it makes you think about what's important, right? Like, yeah, I got to do that, even though I fuck it. And like, let me tell you, I never set up lights, so I can't be. I hate the whole lights on the outside of the house thing. We've never done it. I probably should do it, but
No, you should do exactly what the hell you want.
yeah, well, you know what I mean. So like,
But yeah, the idea of getting pulled into being festive, I get it.
yeah, it's infectious. It's
Yeah,
the season is infectious, and the reason why we get to say things like my wife even says, "Ah, it's fucking corporatism when it comes to Valentine's Day," because there's no real buildup, right? It's just there, like, oh, Valentine's Day on the 14th, we better make sure we do something.
yeah,
And like the only reason I have a story to tell is because I have that little poem, right? And so
yeah,
then because I have that little card that says Pepsi Cola hits a spot, and she knows what it means, and I know what it means. It's a special connection, and it's a special connection again, without ever saying I love you. Like,
yeah, 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 yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
I don't want to pretend like I don't tell her I love her. I
Yeah,
do tell
well,
her, but
the words have to become matter of fact. My father always said, he took a quote, "Your actions speak so loud I can barely hear a word you're saying."
right,
So it's not about saying I love you or not saying I love you.
that's
It's
exactly
like
right.
it's that it almost flows out of your mouth. You're not even thinking about saying it. Where it's like, "I love you." Are you gonna
Yeah,
say it too? Like that's the bullshit.
right, right.
That's the cancer that's got to go. And to your point, like what I don't like. I mean, what I do like is what you said, like the festivity. I don't want to be like Scrooge, where it's like I'm not doing any. Like, I don't want to be that guy, but I also don't want to be the guy where it's like, uh, like there's no meaning. There's no like the context. Like people chop down a tree, for example. This has been a thing I've always asked people, and I very rarely get an answer. If I do, it's like a pious answer. Why do we cut down a tree, we put it in the house, and then we throw out the tree?
Yeah.
To me, it
Or
just
burn it.
or burn it. To me, it just doesn't make sense. Like, why are we
Yeah.
doing that? And it's and also, for example, like the idea of Santa Claus.
Wait.
Like,
Before we get too far away from that, real briefly on the area of politics. If you don't think that's a good idea, but you simultaneously think that we shouldn't burn fossil fuels, brace yourself, because there's going to be a lot of fucking trees that get burned
I'm
if
keeping you
there's
away
no
from
fossil
politics
fuels.
tonight. I'm keeping you
Every
away from
fucking tree
politics
you
today,
see
bro.
is going to be gone. People are going to be burned because people need to keep warm in the winter. And we found, the Industrial Revolution gave us a way to do that without fucking everybody being freezing cold.
We're gonna talk about
Yeah.
Tim Dillon in a second.
You go ahead, children. You fucking stupid children. You go ahead and make it so that we have to cut down all the trees in the fucking forest in order to keep warm. Woo-hoo. What are you gonna do? You got to keep warm, right? Can't have oil. Ooh. Okay, go ahead. Anyway.
But anyway, the context of the
I don't wait. Let me take one thing back, and I don't mean to interrupt you again.
no,
I
you're
don't mean
good.
to call you stupid children. I don't really feel that way, but
Yeah,
you
you
know what?
do. It's fine.
I get
But
perturbed.
I want to talk.
I'm
Well,
almost 50. Huh.
I do want to shift into politics, but I also wanted to talk about Tim
Yeah.
Dillon. But when we do, but I do want to finish that last thought though, the context of things.
Right.
That like we chop down a tree, we put it in our house. I think Jim Gaffigan has a skit where he's like, he goes, "It sounds like the behavior of a drunk man, really. All right, chop down that tree, put it in here, take all these lights, put them out there, and let's hang socks over the fireplace." It's like
Smells good.
it just yeah, it smells good, but it's like we're chopping like it just there's no other
It's not
way.
like, well, here's the thing. It's not like we're going out into a forest and just randomly. I mean, we kind of do that. Some people do that around here. I guess they chop down trees out in the woods, and I guess it's kind of more catchy. But what typically happens is there's companies that grow trees at the beginning of the year that
Yeah.
they grow up to a certain height, and they're at a certain height when they become ready to be cut down for Christmas, and it's just an annual thing. And so the tree is just like a piece of plastic. Like the wife and I, we have a piece of plastic. We haven't cut down a tree in years and years and years, right?
Yeah.
But we or even bought a live tree. We just have a fake tree, and we're happy with it.
Yeah, and that's
And
cool.
yeah,
Why do we do it
well,
though?
it's cool. The other thing's cool too, like getting a tree that's been cut down, that's specifically made to be cut down. That's cool too.
Yeah, no, you know what's funny? When I was a kid, when I was a
Great,
kid,
greatest thing in the world.
I wanted the real tree. I wanted the real tree. The real tree 100% smelled it.
Smells good.
Smells good. Then when I got older, I'm like, why do we use real tree? Like that's where like chopping it down, bringing it in, and throwing it out just doesn't make sense. I think artificial trees better. And now I'm at the point where I think it's absolutely ridiculous that we can bring in a tree.
I
Why
know.
not light something that smells like a tree? Like what? Why? Like why to do all that?
I'll tell
Like
you
what?
why.
Why?
For the same reason you eat a hamburger at McDonald's. Do you we so I don't think people in the United States are appreciative enough of the greatness of our system. I don't, especially younger people, they don't fathom that there are all these this hustle and bustle that occurs in the background so that they can have a wonderful life. So like I said with the trees, there are people that grow trees at the start of the year that get to a certain height and then they chop them down. And then if with every intent from the very beginning to sell those trees at Christmas time to make money. Now, in relation to your hamburger that nobody appreciates, nobody thinks about that it would be absolutely impossible for you, Michael Bacchioni, to make your own hamburger. And or anyone else for that. You drive up to fucking McDonald's and you say, I like a double quarter pounder with cheese or whatever the fuck you say. No, pickles, onions, whatever the fuck you want on it, or whatever you don't want on it. You drive up and then they hand it to you. And you pay your money and you drive off. But if you had to make that burger on your own, you'd have to know how to make bread.
Yeah.
You'd have to make that bread in the oven or however you did it. You'd have to kill a cow. You'd have to grind the meat. You'd have to do whatever it takes to make the condiments. You'd have to chop the pickles. You'd have to grow the onions and then chop the onions. There's so many things you'd have to do. You would never do it, ever. Nobody would ever eat a hamburger. But we don't understand that. We don't see the back end of it, right? Like people, especially dumb kids, don't appreciate capitalism for the absolute wonderful thing that it is. That so capitalism allows rich people to become wealthy. That is absolutely true. But it's not. But
All right, hold on.
it's
Let's
okay.
finish the Christmas tree first, and then I
All
want
right,
to and
Christmas
then
tree.
want
Go
to
ahead.
shift in that.
I don't want to go
So
on capitalism. Sorry.
no. But you were bringing that up though, to tying it into the burger with the tree. What was the connection with the burger with the tree?
So, in the same respect that there are things that go on behind the scenes. So, in order for that burger to reach you as you drive up to the fast food and you get it in less than 3 minutes, um, there a lot of things had to occur behind the scenes. People had to kill cows. People had to grow onions. People had to grow pickles. People had to make condiments, whatever condiments you have on it. And people had to make the bread, all beef patty, special sauce, lettuce, cheese. All that shit had to be made in the background, and then it had to be sent somewhere for you, for the special preparation for you to be able to be given the convenience of driving up, paying your money, and driving off. And the same thing applies to the Christmas tree. So there's all these things going on in the background. And you can't say, well, the poor little trees don't need to be cut down. Well, the poor little cows don't need to be killed either. And the poor little onions don't need to be chopped up.
No. That
What?
wasn't the angle I was coming at. The
All right.
angle I'm coming at is why the fuck do we do it in the first place?
We do it
It,
because it's festive. It's
why?
it's well, there's no point in trying to connect it to anything other than it's part of our culture in our holiday. Like
Yeah, see,
why
I
why
can't accept that. The
why
child in me
why
can't
why
accept that
that's
because
like
it's
that's
like,
like why do people wear sombreros and why they and there's you can't deny
there was one
a
person who started
cultural
wearing the
norm.
sombrero, right?
Right.
Listen, you do whatever you want. You want to wear a sombrero, you want to chop a
Right.
tree down, put it in your house, cool.
Right.
But to me, the way as I've got, like, it's the meaning of why you do what you do, which I think our culture is hungry for, right? It's like
Mm,
if you don't have a blueprint for why you do what you do, then you just go through the motions. It's the same reason why I don't like, or I haven't liked church as much as I've gotten older, is because I think the ideas are really good, but there's not um, the, the institutions I believe have become hollowed out. Same thing with education. It's a one size fits all idea. There's and I think education has become hollowed out, and it's like
failed.
there's what's that?
Education has failed us.
Yeah. So in the same way, what I don't like is that
Well,
it's
academia has failed us,
like if I ask you like
not
or
education.
why do we say what we say, right? Like my dad says to me when people say no problem, when you say thank you and people say no problem, I'm guilty of that, saying no problem to somebody.
You're
He
welcome.
goes, why would it be a problem? why do we say what we say? Because it's like I think at the core of it, it's like we're consuming culture rather than producing it. So it's one
Mhm.
I have more. I don't want to say I have more respect, but like, because do whatever the hell you want at the end of the day. But it's like I feel like there meaning is what gives root to it. So if someone says, "Well, cut down trees because in 1432, if you cut down your tree, it meant," like there's something linking more. Like it binds you. Otherwise, you're just repeating other people's behaviors, right? So like, why not create culture? Why not when Christmas comes, you do something different? Like
Wait,
that. To me, I
wait.
have more
You
respect
ready
for
for
that.
radical? Something radical?
Yeah, go for it.
I don't think culture is necessary.
Ooh. Oh man, you just opened up a whole bunch of can of worms. What do you mean by that?
I mean, we spend too much time on culture, and culture has been modified in so many ways through the years, and it's been used to justify so many atrocities and so much barbarism in every respect that, and we've given so much prudence. We like, oh, it's my culture, and oh, that's my culture. Like I do that because my culture. That you can't challenge it. You can't say, well, that's stupid, right? Like,
Yeah,
you
but
well,
culture.
hold on. What,
Yeah. Yeah,
before
yeah,
you
yeah,
finish
yeah.
your thought. So, um, we separate ourselves because of culture, and we become reliant on things that are not necessary, absolutely unnecessary. And I'm talking about from all the way from the divine right of kings to the the three shrunken heads on the necklace around someone's neck.
Yeah, break that down. You've brought that up many
Right,
times
right.
over the years. What
And
is the three
so,
shrunken heads?
right, since if you don't have three shrunken heads around your around your neck in certain cultures, especially there's a tribe of cannibals that require men to have three shrunken heads around their neck. And imagine yourself being that man with only two shrunken heads. You want your third head, right? And so it's it's a barbaristic cultural norm that should have been gotten, but for the fact that this uh, tribe was isolated on a particular island with other tribes, it would never have existed. And now it does, and or not now. I think it's been gotten rid of. But the point being, if you really look at what your culture means to you, well, I'm German, or oh, I'm Irish, or oh, I'm Russian, or oh, I'm from Scandinavia, whatever the fuck you want. The correct answer should be, yeah, well, you live here now, so who gives a fuck? This is what I like, and this is what you like, and we can coexist. There's no reason. Why? In other words, like this, like you remember me saying that I hate. I know a lot about our founding fathers, and I know a lot about. I got a lot of quotes in my head, and they're just rattling around in there, waiting for the next opportunity to spit out. But I hate quoting the founding fathers, and the reason why I hate it is the same reason why I think culture is irrelevant, because it robs me of my decision. That it's almost like saying I can't make up my own mind. I can't tell you that is absolute tyranny because I hate it. I have to bring up some example of what Thomas Paine said, or Thomas Jefferson, or it's like, I know you won't listen to my complaint, but listen to some 200-year-old dead guy because
Yeah.
he said this. Like it's only valid if he says it, not if I say it, right? Because it really is coming. Even though I know those quotes, I take those quotes to heart, and that's the reason. Then and I surrender my decision to my belief in them to the understanding that no one else is going to accept my belief in it unless I do quote some 200
Mm.
year old dead guy. And so that's the same thing as culture. The culture does almost the same thing. Oh, this is the way we eat corn, or I wear this special underwear or this funky hat because that's the way we've always done it. And
Yeah,
I
I
surrender
think you
my
make a good point. Here's what I would say is that
yeah,
culture is filled with bad ideas and it's filled with
yeah,
good ideas. Our
yeah.
founding
Mostly
fathers,
bad.
yeah,
Mostly
mostly,
bad.
well, definitely mostly bad. And I would say mostly, most of our human psyche is mostly bad. And what I mean by that is that there's a very and our culture, it's it's very dominated by selfishness, right? And it's like lower principles are pushed, right? Like, everything is sexualized, everything is over gratification, food, 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 eat, 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 consume, consume, even garbage culture, and I agree with you. But I think culture is a tool. So you can make awesome culture,
Mm.
but it depends on where well, it depends on how you see the world. If you're an idiot, you're going to put out bad culture, and you're going to get a lot of idiots to follow you, and you're going to, if you're an idiot who puts three heads around you, oh, I have three heads, oh yeah, I have four, and it's like, that's an idea. So how do you fight culture with better
Well,
culture?
well,
And
don't you
who's to
think,
say
Dan?
that the
But don't you
culture is
think?
better? Those founding fathers, that was a culture. They put out
Mm,
culture. They said, here's better ideas, here's my
yes,
idea, here's how I see it, and it spreads.
yes. It's like then. It's like if you don't have a culture, then you almost want to deny history. You don't want to learn from the mistakes of the past. I understand that. It's just there really has to be something in place that we don't rely on culture like like a crutch. Like it's a crutch. Like what I say is not valid because I'm just some 49-year-old
Yeah,
fat
you
guy.
got me
Right?
thinking truth is paradoxical again now.
Right? Isn't it
Right?
true? Like
Because it's like, I think culture is a good thing, but I actually at the same time I understand what you're saying, because you don't want to just be a parrot.
right. And here's the thing. You don't want to be also on the inverse side of it. You don't want to be the person that is only willing to accept what the founding fathers say. Like if you say
Yeah, you
something,
want to be able to be adaptable and add to it
right?
too. And you have
If
people on the
Michael
far left.
Bacchioni tells me this X, Y, and Z, um, you know, I want to accept your thoughts because that's who you are. I don't want to you don't want to say whatever Thomas Jefferson said this or you don't need to do that, right? Or you shouldn't have to. And I should be able to accept what you think about it because it robs of not only does it rob us of our own validity, like this is what I feel and this is how I feel it. It's um, it makes it so people don't want to listen to anything other that they're looking. They're almost relying on the quote. They're like,
Yeah.
why? What
Yeah,
they're
what's interesting?
searching for? They're searching for the validity. Like when these motherfuckers were saying all these wonderful things back in the founding days, there was no one saying, "Oh, where did you get that information? Oh, why do you feel that?
Yeah.
Are you just parroting
Yeah.
that from somebody? What
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like even though they were standing on the shoulders of genius, just the way we are,
Yeah.
right? They got that fucking information from somewhere. They learned to feel that way from someone, but there was nobody even they gave it as verbatim. They just gave it out, right? And people were accepting because they weren't relying on culture to guide them at the
Yeah.
point
No,
at that point,
I get your
right?
point.
So we rely too much on culture and we need to do away with it.
Yeah, because you also have people on the far left who are going to say, well, the founding fathers, and then the people on the far right are going to say, well, the founding fathers, and it's like, and they both believe in the founding fathers is just how they see it,
They spin it
and
to mean whatever they want. That's absolutely true.
yes, yeah, that's very well said, dude. I never really thought about it like that. I guess when I say culture, what I'm saying when people create culture, it's like, you talk about your granddaughter, I talk about my nieces,
Yeah.
um, my girlfriend's nieces, and I think about my niece and my two nephews. It's like, you think about kids, it's like they are creating, like, there's a certain fresh culture, and I think what you bring up is rotten culture. And it's like, it's all
Yeah.
subjective. It definitely is paradoxical, because it depends on how you frame it. But I definitely understand your point, where it's like, you don't want to.
Well, and so now I'm thinking the opposite, right? Because now I'm thinking, well, everything about me is my culture. I cut my hair a certain way. I believe certain things because long before I was ever able to determine my identity, I was given my identity,
Mm,
and that works for everybody. Long before you were ever decided to do something a certain way, your parents taught you this is the way things need to be
yeah.
done. You were given your identity before you ever took control of your identity.
Yeah.
You had to work from there. So like you are the plant that was planted in a soil and grew to a certain point, and now you can kind of decide which direction you want to grow, either into the sun or whatever you want to do, right? Make a loop. but so, and you know what this is from? Remember that TED talk I gave you a long time ago? Something Raul Martinez, Finding Freedom. That
It's,
it's kind of from that. Like, um, I think it's Raul Martinez, or but look at TED Talk Finding Freedom, and you'll see that.
argues that the more we understand the limits on our freedom, the better placed we are to transcend them.
Right. And I mean, there's some parts in there I disagree with, but he says that he basically tries to relate that he brings up a pedophile, for instance. He says a man. He says, let me give this example. He says, a man's been happily married for 20 years, and one day he begins experiencing these extreme pedophilic tendencies, and he sees children as desirable. And he goes to the doctor, and the doctor can't figure out what's wrong with him just psychologically. So he does a brain scan, and they find a tumor in his brain, and they give him operation, and they remove the tumor. The man goes back to normal, and his pedophilic tendencies go away. And then um, a few months go by, and he starts to desire children again. So he goes back to the hospital, and sure enough, there's that tumor growing back. They operate again. It comes out, and no more
Wait, is
pedophilic
this based off a
tendencies.
true story?
No, no.
Oh, you're just playing. Okay.
But here's the thing. It's based off a reason, because once we hear about the tumor, we rationalize it, right? Like,
Mm,
oh, that's the reason why, right? It's easy for us to accept the fact that the only reason why this man decided to be a pedophile was because he had this tumor growing in his brain,
yeah.
right? But then he says the weird thing. He says the truth is the man is no more. What if he hadn't had the tumor? What if they never found a tumor and he just had these pedophilic tendencies? Is he still responsible for his pedophilic tendencies? Is it his fault that he has those pedophilic tendencies? Because he says, we are no more responsible for the crimes that we commit than the people who judge us. He says, now don't get me wrong, there's really pragmatic reasons for
Yeah.
locking people in prison that are dangerous to society. He said, but when you deal with why or how it was done, what if there's no tumor? What if the man just suddenly started becoming attracted to children and he couldn't figure out why, even though he didn't desire it? Because we are a product of the soil in which we were planted. And you don't get to decide how your cells grow
Yeah.
or what desires that you accumulate as you grow, um, or how your cells interact in your brain, or if you're going to get a brain tumor or not. And it really puts it into perspective. But and he, at least the only reason why he was able to capture me was, I honestly believe, you are responsible for you. And I believe, as he does, there are very pragmatic reasons for putting people in jails for crimes that they commit. Um, because the buck has to stop somewhere, but you have to
Yeah.
be able to at least realize that you know um, people commit crime because they get the idea that crime is necessary or that they can get away with it.
Mm,
Right? So when you don't have money and you live in a poor neighborhood and maybe you're hungry tonight, um, you're more inclined to be affected by criminality. In my
yeah. That's.
culture has permitted me not to be exposed to those extremes. I grew up, we weren't wealthy, but it, I'm sorry.
Oh, my dog is like playing in the background. Sorry. Go ahead.
um, but I never grew up. I never have. I've sped. I can't say I never committed crimes, but I don't typically. I don't have it in my heart to steal something from someone, or I've never thought about how great it would be to get what they've got. And so I am a product of the soil in which I was planted, and if you get the other plant that was in the dark, and and it's not allowed to flourish, then you're going to have a different result. It's going to That plant that's down there on the other side of the tracks. that grew up away from the sun, and maybe he was surrounded by people, surrounded by criminality, and maybe some of his best friends were criminals because that's where he grew up.
Yeah.
Maybe they've expressed to him that I'm going to get what I can when I can, and this is the only way I'm going to do it. And so I understand it, but then you step in with what culture is more dominant, right? And you have the criminal culture, and you have the law and order culture. And right now they're starting to clash. Which one's more powerful? Which way should we go? And the answer is we need law and order. There must be law. We cannot allow the
So
degradation
so
of
on
of
on
our
on a
criminal
deeper
justice.
yeah, I agree. I think on a deeper level, I think let's I think there's a divine masculine and a divine feminine. And from my perspective, the divine feminine, and I think the feminine principle, it's the yin and the yang, right? The feminine principle is of safety, security, understanding, compassion. The other side to that, which is just as necessary, is justice, discipline, um, fill in the blank of that. That's what makes, and when you have both of those, that's how you have a good culture, right? That there is law and order, as you say. You do something wrong, there's going to be a punishment for that. But at the same time, it's there's also, you don't want to create, because I also think there's a system that becomes created, right? There's a lot of like corporatism with, we can go into this too. I guess here we go. It didn't take long before we started going into these topics, right? But because I thought about the idea of like, private prisons, for example, and it's like there's a lot of money in it, right? But it doesn't mean that we just say, oh, it's okay. You know, there shouldn't be consequences for criminals. I do believe there should be, but I also do believe in the idea of rehabilitation. And in the same way I said education is not a one size fits all, I also don't believe that punishment is a one size fits all. On a micro scale, there's people I meet in my life. Sometimes they need to be smacked on the head. Other people, they just need a hug. And it's like, how do you determine that? And where's the incentive to create that? And also in the same way, it's almost it's bled into um, healthcare as well, right? Doctors make money off of having sick patients. And is it to say all doctors are corrupt? No, it's not. It's built into the system. If you got rid of your patients, you wouldn't be in business. So how to create a model that creates healthy people in the same way, like when criminals create, as you said, it's like, who's the criminal? The guy who steals bread? Like, and
Well,
it's
it's more
multi.
than that. It's
Yeah,
it's like when you grow up, when you you've grown from the bad soil,
yeah,
and you've been exposed to criminality. It's not stealing bread. It's stealing nice things, burglarizing homes,
yeah,
stealing cars, trading parts. Um, you know, real criminality, doing things that the non-criminal side of culture is trying to stop, and doing it in such a way even that allows you to gain street cred against the people that are doing it with you. Like, oh, you did that. Look what I did. I did this.
yeah, yeah.
Um, and so uh, I don't know. I think that
It's almost like
what were you saying? Just
it's almost like
go ahead.
Batman and Joker. I always think about those two examples because Batman is like law and order, and Joker's about like breaking breaking the rules. And it's interesting, like, because that's an aspect of it, I think, because I think you have to play with the rules to a certain extent. I don't think people should just obey the law just for the sake of obeying the law. I also
Can I
don't
tell
think
you?
you don't go full Joker either, right? You don't
Right. Well,
just.
so before I forget, and I would be writing stuff down. I don't mean to interrupt you, but right when you key something in my brain, I like to
No,
just
yeah,
to
go.
say it.
You have the
Otherwise,
floor. I
I'll
need
go
to
by.
listen more. You're my
And
guest.
so here's I'll say another radical thing. Um, I am of the opinion that we don't need Congress. Um, we are a nation of laws, and they are the lawmakers. But we have too many fucking laws, and I think we have, and that's just that. I shouldn't say that because that's kind of the angry side of me. But
Mm.
we have enough laws, right? And I think we could operate just fine on the existing laws that we have. And it's obvious they're not passing new laws, and they're not. What they're doing is they're
Hold on. I'm getting a disconnect here.
people keep.
Hold on. Let me
My internet
restart.
connection is unstable, it says.
Yeah. I think we're good now.
All right, back.
All right. Yeah.
All
So
right, so where were we? I don't think we need Congress
we don't need. You said the laws.
because they're the branch of government. Or if we do need Congress, we need an extremely limited amount of Congress. And what I mean by that is that we are a nation of laws, and we have enough laws. There are far too many laws, and we could survive just fine on the existing number of laws that we have. But and they don't want you to think about this. They really don't. That they're irrelevant. That we don't need them anymore. And not to the point like I absolutely don't need them. We absolutely don't need them to the extent that they're present and that they do. And the reason why I say that is because they're no longer making laws, the only thing that they do is modify laws. And they modify the laws to the highest bidder. And corporations find ways to influence our Congress so that they modify those laws to allow them to criminalize or to to um, to tyrannize the populace. And so if you're a corporation, like back in 1970s, it was against the law to enter anything into state commerce that was made by slave or prison labor. And then the laws got changed because somebody lobbied Congress and sent millions of dollars to Congress in order for them to make it so now you can make products in prisons that you can stamp made in the USA on. And you know, it was a stage thing. So it went years and years in private prisons where they were getting people to make Starbucks coffee holders, and they were people were even taking orders for airline online. Like if you were booking for uh, American whatever airlines or United, you would call a person in a prison, and they would reserve your fucking airline seat. And that they did away with that. But 70% of domestic paints are made in a private prison. 100% of every United States military ballistic vest, well, it used to be, were made in private prison. Um, in office furniture, I think it's like 60% of all office furniture in the United States is made in a private prison.
Really?
And so, yeah, well, it used to be, right? And so there was a real problem with this issue of corporations influencing Congress. Now, so understand it, it's a not just a one. It's not just a linear thing. You have to think
Yeah.
about both sides. It's a the reason why um, corporations are so good at lobbying Congress is that Congress has nothing fucking else to do, right? They they sit around all day every day trying to get money in order to become to for their reelection. And so it's like 60% of their time is spent calling people on the phone. Oh, can you agree to come to this dinner because we're going to need money? And every district in the United States is gerrymandered. Every single one. We know this. We've known this for years. You know it, and you know how I like to say that. But this is really true. This everyone knows that every single district for the House of Representatives is gerrymandered, and they don't even keep it a secret. They tell everybody we have gerrymander. We're redistricting these locations for the benefit of the Democratic Party or for the Democrat of the
Well, yeah,
Republican Party.
everybody doesn't know though. You know that. And the reason is because they're not hungry. And the reason they're not hungry is because people are generally apathetic because they've been fed shitty culture and they're okay being docile rather than
Right.
to really. I mean, I think that's one of the good thing that's come out of this past couple years is that I think it's awakened a lot of people to what really matters.
Yeah.
And as time goes on, that will accelerate and either people
Mm,
will go deeper into sleep because the pain of facing it is becomes exponentially stronger, or you face it, and as you
well,
face it, you have to do like a purging, right? Because when you live in this bubble of like uh uh you know TV and escapism and the 9 to 5 shackles of just completely staying away and just not focusing on the deeper issues. When you start to break through that, it's like it's a dark night of the soul, and I think collectively we're going through that, and I think that there's going to be a lot of people. So when you say, I think that's the only grief that I challenge you on, which I've been challenged on too by my girlfriend at the beginning of this year,
yeah.
because I did the
Saying
same
everybody
thing.
knows. Yeah.
And I think it's a good time to shift into Tim Dillon. I think Tim Dillon is, I
Yeah.
think, and I was talking about
Excellent.
George Carlin. If you haven't heard of Tim Dillon, he's a comedian who's really talking about a lot of politics in a way that is just really it's cool. But I think I compared him to George Carlin in a sense, or at least potential to be, because he has what George Carlin did so well was that he spoke about things that were very, very deep. He talked about politics, but it was in a way that he wasn't lecturing, and that's what makes a good comedian. It makes you laugh about really,
Okay.
someone who makes you laugh and think at the same time. I think now a
Well,
lot of comedians are like they're just mockers.
let me tell you on that last thing you said, I posted it on my Facebook, right? And I wrote
Yeah,
hilarious and then terrifying and then hilarious again and then scary again. The guy is good. You're absolutely right. Tim Dillon is really good.
death
I highly
smiles at
recommend
us
it.
all a man can do is smile back, and that's what
Yeah.
I see. That like it's people who don't see what the hell Frank Stevens is talking about, like, because I know there's going to be people who are like, what the hell. You are pointing to truths that are like very deep, and not many people are very deep. And for many reasons you don't want to go deep because it's scary. Right? This culture is very it's okay of just staying on the surface but not having grit and deep roots and understanding, like, where does our money come from? What's deep into the laws?
Yeah.
Is the Violence Against Puppies Act? Why would you be
Mhm.
against the Violence Against Puppies Act?
And if
You
they
didn't
can
read
create
page
all the money
2000.
they want, yeah. And if they can create all the money they want, then why do we pay taxes?
Yeah, and they
If
want
they
us
could
to.
just create trillions of dollars, why are we paying taxes?
But if you print money out of your own home, you'd be arrested tomorrow. So
Yeah.
I think I forgot who it was who said it. It's like to understand that the government, in a sense, is like a mafia. And when you don't do what the government tells you, there's going to be consequences. But also be aware of what a government is, and I think it was the 16th Amendment. Do you know six? Is the amendment that it talks is
That's unlimited. It allows the government, the 16th Amendment allows the government to tax the
yes,
populace. And they didn't set a limit. The key to the 16th Amendment, what people need to understand is when the Congress allowed itself to tax the populace, that before that time, a direct unapportioned tax on the people was considered unconstitutional. It was against the law.
yeah.
And so they in 1913 they allowed themselves to tax the populace, but they didn't set a limit on it. So they can tax you at
Well, the
100%.
argument is that the 16th Amendment isn't constitutional. There's an argument to
Well,
be made.
but if they could tax you at 100%, you're a slave.
Yeah, well, but the point is that what was it?
You
That
will work for free.
it was the Boston Tea Party. That was an argument. It was over 3% tax, right?
A 3% tax on tea caused the Boston Tea Party. Yes.
Yeah. So people are arguing like we now have 30%, and it's not to say that can't be
It's
arguments
way more.
made.
It's way more than that. You
Well,
get
yeah,
taxed on everything. You get
yeah,
taxed. You
sales
buy.
tax and
Well, getting a driver's license is a tax.
yeah,
Getting registrations is a
built in.
tax. Yeah. Exactly right. When you buy something, it's sales tax. You sell it, and you have to that someone else buys it. It's sales tax on the same thing
Yeah,
again.
and it's become
It's
so built in over time that it's like
right.
it's not looked at that big of a deal.
Gas
And then
tax,
as
yeah.
it goes on, it's just like,
Hunting
oh, it's just a
license.
little bit more. Oh, it's just a carbon
Yeah.
tax. And then you don't even realize the shackles that are being, basically built around you. But I also think, well, that ties into the other thing is that I think, how do you combat this? You don't do it by I'm not paying that. Like that's again, that's the left right paradigm. That's what they love because then you have a bunch of people saying I'm not paying taxes and they're labeled as
Right.
crazy. Nobody listens to them, right? Even though they have valid points. But I think that's why I bring Tim Dillon into this is because it's like now is the time to create culture.
Right.
And the right type of culture is that it's not about fighting the system. It's actually using the system as it is and adapting it, but understanding it. First you have to understand
Oh,
it. You have to
well,
understand your shackles. You have to understand what are the bars around you.
right.
This is a we listened to the
And that's
song
wait,
recently,
wait.
right?
That's why Tim Dillon is excellent, right?
Yeah.
Because it's the delivery. Like people don't want to hear the shit that sometimes when we go on for, and we're not going to go on to like tonight, but when we do 3 hour segments, people see that right away, and boop, we're fucking
Yeah, it's
gone. I'm not
off
going to do
after
it.
five. It's it.
Well, here's the
Angry
thing:
Frank Stevens.
if we were laughing and joking and it was fun,
Everyone will be
then people
listening.
might hang out for three
Yeah.
hours. But people are going to listen to Frank Stevens whine about fucking, you know, whatever the fuck he's upset about Congress, but for 3 hours. But this Tim Dillon guy, right? It's all about the delivery. If there's a nugget of hilarious in there, you're like, God dang, that's funny, that's great.
Yeah.
But then as you're sitting waiting for the next nugget, all that shit's in your mind, like, wow, that's really true.
Yeah.
That's crazy true. That's so true. And so it's everything about delivery. And matter of fact, you go through classes that teach you the way that your interactions with people is about how is in your delivery, right? You can tell someone, hey, you're gonna fucking listen to me, or you'd be like, hey, listen, we got to do these certain things, right? And so it's all about how you address them. You look them in the eye, like speaking with somebody on a one-to-one level. It's disrespect not to look at them. Like when you say something to them, you look at them, and unless they're in a culture like where they look down and they don't look at you,
Yeah.
but neither here nor there. Um, if they're addressing you, if they're screaming in your face and you're not looking at them, you're acting like they don't matter. Yeah, yeah, I'll go out and do my fucking thing over here. Oh, you motherfucker! It's just making things worse, right? So
Yeah.
just look at them and tell them, hey, listen, I understand what you're saying. Slow your fucking roll, right? Because we're not getting anywhere. I'm trying to talk to you and you're fucking just going on and on and on. And look right at them when you tell them that. And the next thing you know, you can have some type of dialogue. But if you spend your time over here doing something else, that fucking guy's gonna hate you for the rest of your life. Because not only are you an asshole, you're a disrespectful asshole.
Yeah.
And you're not listening to him. So it's all in the delivery. And I think that guy Tim Dillon does it great. So props
Yeah.
to
And I
him.
think, yeah, well,
I wish I
totally.
could be that funny.
So, man, you can. That's the thing. It's you got to find your like. Listen, you had your poem, for example, right? Like that. That came from you, right?
Well, that's for that. That was never supposed to be aired on fucking.
What is that?
Yeah,
Yeah, but no,
that
but
was
I
just
think that's a
between me
good.
and her.
I think that was a good example though, because
Yeah.
it's like that. I,
I mean, and I'm just an open book. Go ahead.
the artist is within all of us. There's an artist within all of us, and there's the ability to create needs to come back. I mean, that's what I think makes that would be a good education system, right? It's not just regurgitating what you learn. It's about taking it in, but also giving back to become a producer, not just this mindless consumer. I think we need more producers.
Well,
It's
I'm
good
really upset with academia too.
like just this conversation. I'm taking in ideas from you. I'm consuming your ideas. I'm listening to what you have to say, and then I'm sharing. I shared Tim Dillon with you tonight.
Yeah, it was
You've
really.
shared.
Thank you, by the way.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I mean, for all the. I mean, we've talked for years, and you've shared a lot of wisdom with me as well. Like you've. God, all I mean, all the presidential quotes. I just did a video last night on which who was it? What's the
The
guy's name?
critic.
No, not the critic. Oh, you have enemies? Good. It means you stood for something in your
Oh, I
life.
actually watched that. I upvoted your thing. Good job.
Yeah. Well, you inspired me like on that because I've always played with that idea like is of enemies and
It's worth it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's worth it. And there was a part of me that like really wanted to understand it. I feel like I articulated myself in the right way. Is that there's to separate the person, which is from my Christian roots of the idea of hate the sin, not the sinner, because you can still that's how the enemy is ignorance. When you're arguing with somebody, if you separate yourself from the person, you're attacking their ideas. The person, you're not a bad. So that like I sensed that with you too when you were talking last time. You were like, listen, I don't hate anybody. When you try to, when you get those moments where you're explaining what, like,
Yeah,
you don't hate anybody. I don't sense that. That's why I have conversations with you, because
yeah,
I think you're trying to free people from the shackles that they don't even see, and
right,
that anger comes up, and that's how I perceive it. And when you have enemies, I feel like there's two types of enemies. There's people who fight people, and there's people who fight bad ideas.
right,
And the people who fight people, they fall into identity politics. They just join a group, and if that group's gone, or they follow a leader, and
yeah,
they're only powerful in numbers. And I think that the other group of people, they're fighting ideas, that it's actually a highest form of love. When they fight you, it's not
right.
about you, it's about the ideas that you stand for. And those are two
And
types of
right.
people.
So, well, why else will we be sitting here, Michael Becchione, spending so much time trying to have dialogue with people? It's not because we hate them. It's not because I despise everything that they do. It's because I care about you. If I didn't give a shit, I would never say a word to you. I'd be like, I don't give a fuck. Go do your own thing,
Yeah.
right? But the metaphor that I gave on the one thing about the slavery was that I'm kind of like I'm kind of like the guy with the stick outside, and I'm beating back all the trash can bears, right? I'm like, listen, it's better to be free. It's fucking you don't see it. I know that, and some of you even need the trash that you're eating out of the cans. But it's being a trash can bear is not the fucking way you're supposed to be. We're supposed to be free.
Yeah.
And and then the bears start to growl at you, and they don't like to hear what you're saying. And but that doesn't stop me from swinging my stick. I'm gonna listen. I'm trying to tell you, I don't want what's harmful for you. I don't want to hit you with the stick. I just want you to accept that our country was founded on the principles of freedom. That not the slavery plantation that one party is trying to give you. They really are trying to give you, and it's not really bad. It's if you only have so much goods and services to supply to the people. One way to do it is to be in full control of that and just lay out the trash cans as you see fit, and try to disseminate as much garbage to each bear as you can. That is one way, and in so doing, the Democrats, in their own way, are trying to develop this idea that we should not be free, that we should all live on this plantation that spans from the sea to the shining sea, right? And that we should get free food and free housing and free healthcare, and to the extent that they could pay it, free education. That everything should be free, and people are accepting of that because they haven't had those things in their lives. They or maybe not, and sometimes not because of their own doing, but people accept the trash can because that's all that they're unwilling to look beyond it. They're unwilling to go back out to the trees. It- the and what do they want for that? What, like, they're going to take away, they desire to take away your guns, just like on a plantation, give you free food, free housing, and free healthcare, just like on a plantation. And they're going to monitor you 24/7, just like on a plantation. And the only thing that they expect for all of those wonderful things, all of those wonderful trash cans that they're going to lay out for you, is all of your labor in the way of taxes. I want what I work for and nothing else. I don't even like paying taxes, but I'll do it, right? But you're not going to fucking tax me at 70%. I'll tell you that right now. You will not fucking tax Frank Stevens at 70%. I am not 70% slave. And you shouldn't want to be either. Nobody should want that. And I'll goddamn guarantee you, you're not going to tax me at 100%. And even though you've given yourself Congress the power to do that, you have a 9% approval rating and 96% reelection prospects because you've gerrymandered every district. Just because you do that, you don't think we see that? Muammar Gaddafi had 11% approval rating, and his own people drug him into the street and put him down.
Yeah.
So it was absolutely understandable that you became very concerned when Americans got within arm reach of you. It's very understandable. I understand that.
Well, George
But that
Carlin
doesn't
said
mean
it.
that you try to make us your enemy. Do the right things for us.
Yeah, well, that's the thing too, though. It's not. It's what truly matters is not which party controls our government. What truly matters is whether our government is controlled by we the people. And it starts with conversations like these. It starts
We
with
are the government. You're right.
correct. And if the people do not keep the government accountable, then the government will not be accountable. And what I
They'll
mean,
become tyrannical. Yeah.
and it's not about, listen, Second Amendment is there for a reason. It's not the First Amendment for a reason. It's the Second Amendment. It's the Second Amendment because the First Amendment is freedom of speech. And when you are able to articulate your thoughts and your words, you are able to put those into actions. And I would advise
Right.
everybody who are watching this, get involved locally. Get involved in any way you can. It's like I started with the example, like, because I think it's like there's this idea. Listen, when I was a kid, my dad and my parents told me that I could do anything. And they did that because they wanted to inspire me to not be a piece of shit. Right? That's what good parents do. They don't tell you you're not going to get anywhere in life. Good luck. No. There may be a slice of that. I think it's good to hit them with a
There's
little
a good
reality.
chance you're going to fail. Yeah, they don't tell you
Yeah,
that.
I think but to inspire that you can do anything if you set your mind to it, hard work, like that's a good core message. And I think somewhere along the line, our society has forgotten that message that you can't make a difference, you can't have an impact. Um, and I don't believe that to be the case. I think that you start small. First, like Jordan Peterson says, get your house in order. If you have a messy
Yeah.
house, get your messy house in order. What's the next step? All right, get a job. Next step. What
Untuck
I
yourself.
I live in an apartment complex,
Yeah.
and I've always thought about, like, we don't have a dog park here, and I'm like, I wish we did. And then I take a step out. Why don't I go to the front office and why don't I start making some noise? Why don't I get involved? And through that, I'll meet people. And as I meet people, I learn more and more. And I believe, like Charlie Ward had said, I do believe this is we're all a piece of the puzzle. And when you start connecting pieces on a local scale, you really start building, you see a bigger picture.
Mm-hmm.
Just like I'm learning from you, you're learning from me, we learn from each other. And
Right.
as you start to expand your sphere of influence, you'll
That
be better integrated on how to move forward
that's exactly right.
and
And it
and get
really is
involved.
like what you typically get are the people most concerned about things like global warming are the people with the absolute inability to do anything about it. They are
Yes.
they are powerless because they haven't spent any time whatsoever cleaning their own bedroom
Mm.
and and empowering themselves to the extent where they become powerful. And they're not business leaders, and they're not. Imagine having that mindset that you need to do something about a particular chain of events. Um, the most effective way of doing that is to become a leader and to become um, maybe have your own business and be monetarily set, capable of paying for things. And if you're a multimillionaire, if fucking Elon Musk wanted to do something, he would do it, like he's doing for the carbon capture. Elon Musk is offering $100 million for carbon capture technology because he has the ability to do that, because he has cleaned his own room and his own house and built himself up. Because not that everyone's going to be able to do that. Not everyone's as smart as Elon Musk. The guy's off the
No, I
chart smart,
no
right?
no they are. They just haven't recognized it.
No,
Elon
no,
has recognized it. No, I absolutely
no,
believe
no.
that.
I absolutely do not believe
That's
that.
fine. The
So
potential
let's
is there. I think many
no,
people go to the grave and they don't
no.
realize their own potential. Sure, that's fine.
Well, hold on. Let me just say this.
Sure.
That is absolutely untrue, ladies and gentlemen. There are many, many stupid people and and if you consider yourself average, like George Carlin says humorously, you are at the top of the bell curve. And that means there's a lot of motherfuckers on the bottom side of that bell curve. And if you're way down here on the bottom side of the bell curve and you're doing whatever the hell you're doing for a living that doesn't include anything with math, there's a good chance that you're not going to be able to be president of the United States.
Sure, but that's a
Or
different
you
argument.
can't
What
do
I'm saying
whatever
is
you
if you
want to do. You
what I'm
can't
saying
you can't become an astronaut.
what I'm
And
saying is if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, then it'll live its whole life believing
oh,
it's
that's true.
stupid.
Very
That's
true.
what
Like
I'm saying.
in your own way, you're a savant at something, right? Maybe it's
Yeah,
just
I don't
you
think
don't maybe
everyone's
that
an Elon Musk, but I think that
right.
everyone is there's this idea untapped potential that they not everyone can be a basketball player, but
Mhm.
if but I would say what Jordan Peterson says is that if you what the best version of yourself by your own standards.
Right.
And like I've been reading, check out David Goggins. I don't know, I mentioned him before, but
Well,
dude, this guy
but you
ran
have
a
to look at like people like LeBron James, right?
yeah
LeBron James can't even read.
yeah
Well, I mean, maybe he can. Maybe I shouldn't say that. But
no yeah it's
every
not
time
a
you see an image of LeBron James reading a fucking book, I mean, and you can do it right now. Get online and look for LeBron James reading a book. Every time he's opened a book, it's at the very start of the fucking book. It makes you think that he doesn't ever read those books. Either he can't read or he doesn't read, right? And so, because he's
but
not
he's a
like he's
damn good
halfway through a
basketball
fucking
player. Who
300-page
cares?
novel. What's I'm saying?
But he's a damn good basketball player.
Yeah, but who cares? Who cares? That's the whole point. Like, and never mind about that. I guess I shouldn't
Yeah.
beat on LeBron James. And let me tell you this, it reminds me of something though. That's good that we talked about it because even though I don't like LeBron James or basketball, and it could give you shit less about it.
Yeah, same here. I could care
Here's
less either too.
right. Even though you may care, just neither here nor there. But I want it leads me to this
No,
information.
I
So
could
it's
give a
good.
shit about sports at all.
Right. It leads me
But
to this comment. It leads me to this comment. Um, LeBron James is influenced by money, as is every corporation on the planet Earth. The problem is the United States of America is a sovereign nation that has now exposed itself to the extreme criminality of corporate enterprise. And all of these corporations don't believe in the United States of America. They believe in world government because they can make so much more money. And when I say all, what I'm trying to tell you is that the fourth estate needs to be investigated. That all of the media, all of corporate media, including Fox News and CNN and MSNBC and every one of the motherfuckers, they're all corporate enterprises with global contacts. And the motto of the corporation is to make money as the best they can in the most legal way they can. And so I want to know how much money CNN and MSNBC and Fox News receive from China. I want to know how much specifically the CCP and the country of China is forwarding to CNN to either promote or squash certain stories, world stories, like China is getting close to having a war with India. You never hear about that. You never hear about the little skirmishes they have on the Chinese Indian border, but that's a real thing. And you never hear about China developing uh, you know, mock palaces from Taiwan for the purpose of invasion, but they absolutely intend to invade Taiwan and to annex Taiwan. Right? You don't hear about the World Health Organization denying that Taiwan exists, but that's a real thing, and it's because of China. China. Let me tell you this: China absolutely intends to close off the South China Sea and to implement probably tariffs on anything coming from anything that touches the South China Sea. So every country that sits on the South China Sea, Vietnam, Philippines, all of these fucking countries that would normally ship products across the South China Sea in order to make to the United States. Well, then if it's in control of China, because they built all these islands up, which you probably don't know, China has started building islands up in the South China Sea. And if you
how do
don't
you
know it,
build islands up?
They put so much soil into the ocean that it built an island.
How do you
And
even do that though?
you take dirt
Yeah, but like,
from
how
the
do you?
land
Yeah,
on a ship,
on a ship.
container ship, out to the middle of the South China Sea and drop it and go
That's crazy.
back and come back and drop it. And sooner or later, then that's what they did. And they guaranteed the world, oh, we're not going to build militarize these islands. And what's the first thing they did? They put airstrips down, put surface to air missiles on the islands. There's their military in a way of their navy docks at the islands.
Mm.
They've closed off. Like there was one of the islands in the South China Sea was owned by a family in the Philippines, and they were damned and determined not to give the island to China. And so they put people on the island, and they had people bringing food back and forth from the Philippines to this island. Well, China surrounded that fucking island with ships and denied and set up an embargo. And you're no longer allowed to bring food from here or out of here until those people left. And so now it's in the control and custody of the CCP. And so it's obvious that the Chinese, the country of China intends to set up a full embargo on the 9-line. And the 9-line was set up after the World War II. And it was basically China saying, yeah, we want to take control of the South China Sea. And all this bullshit about 200 miles off each shore is for the country of origin. And that's all gone. We're not doing that. That we own the South China Sea, and that's what they're doing. They have set up numerous islands and now they're making it where our ships, our warships, travel through the South China Sea, and we get things like Chinese bombers that fly over the top of aircraft carriers. So, and we did nothing. And I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, you Biden lovers, Biden is going to allow the annexation of Taiwan by China, and he's never going to do anything. He's not going to put tariffs up on China. He's not going to do anything to them. And just like Obama did with the Crimea, he allowed the annexation of the Crimea from the Ukraine by Russia because it was a shipping port that Russia needed, and an island. And when China takes over Taiwan, we will do nothing. And then as soon as that happens, maybe not the minute after it happens, but we are going to go back into the Trans-Pacific Partnership.
Yeah, this is why I'm not interested on focusing on that, though. For me personally, because to me it makes me feel disempowered. I think it's good to focus. For me, it does. For me, I want to focus on what I can do at my local level. You know what I mean? Because I want to focus on what I can do. Because if I'm focusing on all the shit that's going on, even though all the things that you're saying are right, to me, I become disempowered.
Maybe right.
But I also
there's a
don't.
really good likelihood that I'm right.
No, I'm not saying that you're. No. I didn't say you're wrong. That's not. I think it's important to be informed. But my thing is that what is knowledge other than potential power?
Right.
Knowledge is potential power. It's not power, because you can have all the knowledge in the world. If you don't act on it, then it's just knowledge.
Well, and so here's the thing. It really leads you like when you know these things.
Yeah.
When you know these things, you know why everybody was.
Someone's going to be here. Crimea, like what you just said with Crimea.
Crimea, yeah.
Someone's going to listen to that. I know I'm going to listen. What is it? I don't know enough what that means. And even if I did, what would that be the thing that really made everything? No, because people are focused on,
well, it's not the fact that the Russians took Crimea.
Trump man bad. That's what they're focused on.
It's
right?
not the fact that the Russians took Crimea. It's that we did nothing about it.
My point is that the people who you're trying to change how they see it, I don't think they're going to see Crimea. They're so focused on Trump is the worst man in the world, and if he's gone, then the world is saved. This is the frame of mind that you're dealing with.
All right. So when you consider what's about to happen in the South China Sea and what's about to happen to Taiwan, the reason why I bring those things to the forefront is because it really is the reason why all these corporations are aligned behind Biden, because they absolutely fear kinetic war was about to take place in the South China Sea. Steve Bannon railed about it. We're going to have a bang bang kinetic war in the South China Sea, probably with China, in relation to their attempted annexation of Taiwan and the control of the Nine Dash Line in the South China Sea. And so they're going to set up not embargoes, but they're going to set up tariffs on property or goods and services coming from other nations like Vietnam that would normally trade with the United States. It's like this. It's like we consider ourselves the number one superpower in the world, but that's not going to be that way. The way China sees it. So I really believe that China is involved in a war with the United States that's not a traditional war. It is it's not a kinetic war. It's a what they even have a name for it. It is non-conventional warfare. And so what they do is they attack our culture. So
Yeah.
we have numerous things that
Infiltration instead of
right.
invasion.
Right. Well, we've had numerous ways of aligning together in relation to patriotism. A lot of it was centered around sportsmanship. And what do they do to that? They made it so they took the foundation of our patriotism in many ways was the Monday night football game and they had the flag, the huge flags come out on the field and the fucking flyovers and everybody did their little hand over their heart and stood up for the national anthem. And then they paid someone to kneel. And all of a sudden, they injected this idea into our culture that maybe this isn't so great. Maybe the United States isn't great, right? And we all just kind of played into it, like, oh wow, look at, I really like Mr. Colon Cancer Kaepernick. I like him, and maybe he's a good guy. And Nike thinks he's a good guy. The corporation that has 0 shoe factories in the United States, they think he's a good guy.
Well, yeah, then it's also about, these corporations are also going to follow the buck. So whatever the culture believes, it's almost like they become a slave to whatever
Well,
makes the most
well,
money. So,
right. Here's why. Here's
and
why.
I'd rather focus on that, honestly, the
Right.
psychology, because these
Right.
people who have a shitload of money, Frank, they're not
Right. Right.
interested. They're interested. They're looking at everybody like they're stupid, right?
Right. Right.
And they're crazy because we are stupid as a
Right.
collective. Not everybody's stupid, and as you said, the 50% mark, right, with George Carlin. But what has to happen is the spark for hunger of like, all right, like that's why I've been focusing on like I mentioned David Goggins. I didn't finish. I want to. Is this man David Goggins ran 100 miles 8 weekends consecutively.
Mm.
So he ran 100 miles one weekend. Then the following weekend he ran another 100 miles. The following weekend he ran another 100 miles. For
Wow.
8 weekends in a row, he ran 800 miles
Forrest
total.
Gumping it.
Now, what makes a man do that? What kind of man? What kind of level of thinking? And to me, that's someone who's alive, who really is inspired, who is motivated. And when you get into that level of thinking, like you're on that's human potential,
I don't know.
huh?
He asked him, "Why were you running?" He'd be like Forrest Gump, say, "I was running." I don't
No, but
fucking
I
know.
just was thinking, like, the amazing things that people have done throughout history, and that mindset. What kind of mindset do you have to be in to run 100 miles? You are in control of your body at that point, not the other way around. Most people, they can't even get
Hey,
out of bed without eating Cheetos. Doesn't
hey,
mean you
Forrest
have
Gump
to.
did it.
It doesn't mean you have to eat Cheetos, but
Thousands of miles.
my point is that that's
I
what,
got you.
like, uh, owning your human potential, because that's what's going to change everything else. That's what's going to get people involved. When they're free in themselves and they're exerting their own humanity, they are living embodiments of the divine. Like, I just think about Jordan Peterson, thinking about that, like in the conversations he's had, like living in your own hierarchy, the top of your hierarchy by your own standards. If you did like he says, he goes, yeah, you're miserable, whatever, play video games, you do things that by your own standards aren't the best version of you can be. And he says, if you did everything for 10 years that the best version of you would do by your own standards, what would you be like? And you can't even
Wow.
calculate it. If in every decision you made the higher decision, what would your life be like? And if you had a whole culture of people who did that, what would they be like?
Wow. That's true.
Well,
Wow.
to me, to me,
Wow. That's a very deep statement to consider at length. Wow.
yes.
Yeah.
I've been reflecting that so much. You know, when I make these videos too, it's like, cool, I got 100
Well,
followers. But it's
so
not even
this
about the followers. It's
right, right.
more of like, how many people can I impact? And then I start looking at myself
Those 100 people are
differently.
going to go influence people.
They're
You're
going to
right.
go influence people. And then I look back
Yeah.
at myself and I say, okay, now, and then there's times where I catch myself, oh, I want more followers. Then it's like, oh, I see what people were saying. It's really not about the
So
followers. And it's
right,
like when I
right.
start making it about the followers, then I'm actually losing the message. And that's what I was thinking about tonight in my run, which is why I wanted to have a talk with you because I had a lot of energy going. Is that what what makes me watch people? And I started thinking about this. What is it that makes me watch David Goggins or Joe Rogan? It's because
Yeah,
they are
yeah,
totally in their own power.
yeah,
They
yeah.
are expressing their own humanity. They are the byproduct of really going their own way. And by doing that, then they have influence on culture. And
Right, right.
if it's a positive influence, it affects people. Like someone watching Joe Rogan has, who knows, how could you even calculate how many people have gotten out of bed and said, you know what, I'm fucking gonna kick ass. And for the next 5 years, they kicked ass just because Joe Rogan shined his light. And how that affect, like, and I'm
Those
in
in the
part
network.
created by Joe Rogan. I'm in part created by
Oh,
you. I'm in part created, as you said, stand on the culture of other people. You
stand
know,
on the shoulders of genius. Yep. Oh, your dog's
genius.
on the counter. Look at that. Turn around. Turn around.
Oh no, that's the cat.
Oh, well,
Cats.
damn, that's a big cat. All right, let me tell you something. So I started this off like when we started this, I started sharing my thoughts about the fourth estate and how it's controlled by. They are actually corporations that are controlled. I want to know how much influence China has had, both positive
Well,
and negative influence on the
real
promotion
quick,
of
you
stores.
got 15 minutes. 15
Yeah,
minutes puts us at an hour and a half, and I think that would be a
uh,
good place. You
let's
got the
do that
floor for
then. Okay.
15 minutes, all right?
So the where I started this were about how China controls our media. I am absolutely certain that China pays for both positive and negative influence on our corporations
Yeah, sure. It's
within
owned.
within the media. And what I mean by that is, um, we I am wholeheartedly behind the idea that we need to unite. That we are strongest when we are together. And this bulls we have been pitted against each other for so long. Who
Yes.
do you think does that? If your idea was to divide and conquer, and you had control of both Fox News and CNN, you think you could find a way to fucking make it so these people would fight each other?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And so these people over here are listening to one set, and they totally change the story over here, and it's just as viable. And so you're not to blame for wanting to chop each other's tits off. It's because it's just that these people are pitting us against each other. They don't want us to unite. They don't want us just to be average everyday people. They want to say, oh, they're trying to get your cookies. Like the best example is like I made the example a long time on Facebook about how the mega rich has mounds and mounds of cookies on their table, and then the middle class have like two or three cookies, and then the poor guy at the very other end of the table, he's got one little cookie, and the fucking rich dude is trying to convince the guy with all the cookies is trying to convince the middle class guy, hey, be careful, that guy's trying to steal your cookies. Be
Yes.
careful,
Yeah, that's a
right?
really good analogy. Yeah.
That's exactly how it is,
Yes.
and that's right, right? And so you got all these corporations that don't give a fuck about you. They're trying to take over. They want, and I don't need to go into Benito Mussolini, and I did that before, but it's true. It's the merger of state and corporate power
Yeah.
is taking place as we speak, and not for the benefit of the state. It's for the benefit of the corporations.
Yeah.
The corporations are going to shackle you. They are going to fucking chain you
And I
down.
think it's somewhat like a matrix, right? It's like the corporations are like, most people in corporations are good people. I have friends who are in corporations,
Mhm.
right? So it's it's the I don't want to go too deep into it. I
Tell
think
them to
it's a
watch that
Tim Dillon.
Collins
But this is
or
why people
Dillon,
should
Tim
leave their
Dillon. Yeah,
this is why people who are in corporate America should leave their jobs. Unless they enjoy it, unless they absolutely love being in that, which I would
well,
argue
you don't
most
just
people
leave your
don't.
job.
Yeah, well,
You make
what
a
I'm
lot of
saying,
money, especially you don't lose your job.
sure. Well, what I'm saying is that to be hungry to navigate out of, there's a better way. There is a better way. There's always a better way if you have the will to do it.
Here's the
Throughout
thing:
history, people have
God
done.
save you if the system goes. If there's no more McDonald's and you don't have the ability to drive up and get your hamburger, then things get real, right? Like you got to
What do you
make
mean?
that shit yourself. Like I did, I did on this podcast just a while ago, didn't I? How, like I express, maybe we did it earlier before the podcast, but here's the thing. Um, the we are only as good as the system in which we live.
Yeah.
If you were the most entrepreneurial person in the world,
Yeah.
and you were given the opportunity to sell whatever you wanted, but you had no one around to buy it. So if you're on some dirt road in the middle of the savannah somewhere trying to sell watermelons and there's no one around to buy them, or whatever, it doesn't have to be watermelons. That's a bad example. Like it's selling computers, whatever you want. You had a product to sell and you were willing to sell it and you're a really good salesman. It's the system that makes us strong.
Sure.
And that's what these other countries are trying to tear down, specifically China. The fact that you can drive through McDonald's and get a hamburger in 3 minutes is amazing. You cannot do that on your own. You cannot go out and kill a cow, raise a cow, kill a cow,
Well, that's a whole other
grind the
conversation,
hamburger
man.
meat. What's
Because
that?
it's a whole other conversation because it's like McDonald's isn't even good for you. But you can't tell people don't eat McDonald's. The point is that all
Hey, I
this
like McDonald's.
that's
McDonald's is good, regardless of whether it's good for you. We're not going to have that debate. But what I'm trying to say is the system allows you to get a hamburger without you having to do shit. You don't have to grow. You don't have to make the bread. You don't have to grow the lettuce. You don't have to cut the tomatoes.
I think we need
Grow
to
the
start
fucking
learning how to do that
onions.
to appreciate it. You should have to
I
do that in
no,
order.
not really, right?
No,
You don't
I
really have to
get
do
you.
that. You just have to. You have to grasp. You have to understand that the system is fucking awesome. The capitalism is awesome. You don't want to live under socialism. You think these fucking people in Venezuela are driving up to McDonald's and ordering fucking hamburgers?
No.
They're digging out of garbage cans just to eat. And so we live in
Well, I
it's
guess
the
the argument
system
I'm
they're trying to
making
tear down.
well isn't that the same corporation that is merging with state though? You know what I mean? That's the angle I'm coming from. So the same
Right.
McDonald, you know what I mean? So it's
Right.
like
You're right.
truth is
You're right.
paradoxical is what I'm saying.
Well, it's not so much a paradox as um, not everything is linear. And what I'm trying to say
Yeah.
is that the influence of corporations on the state and the vice versa, and the state allowing them in, that the merger of state and corporate power is a crime. It's actually fascism. That is what Benito Mussolini, the inventor of fascism, described it, and he's the one who invented it. And so you can look online right now. Benito Mussolini, he was an Italian prime minister during World War II that sided with Germany. He invented the word fascism, and he described that definition as a merger of state and corporate power. And then Merriam-Webster dictionary came along many years later and modified it much longer and wider to mean nationalistic society with extreme sense of patriotism that it forces its will on the populace, whatever it is. It's in a roundabout way. It says pretty much what Benito Mussolini said in 2 sentences, right? But the point being is we need to re-implement the corporate charter. When we got rid of the corporate charter, we allowed vampires to live.
We're
And
gonna
what I
do a
mean
whole
by that,
segment on that because you
yeah,
love you love talking about it, and I think it's really important.
right. So I'm up for it. But here's the thing: corporations are vampiric. They do not die, and that should frighten the fuck out of you. Because if you ever watch a vampire movie, a vampire collects everything. He's the rich guy in the big huge mansion, and he owns everything because he's been alive so fucking long, right? So he can just keep accumulating and accumulating and accumulating, and sooner or later, he owns everything, including you, and you're gonna fucking do what he says
Because you're eating
because
all the
now.
McDonald's food and all the chemicals that are in it are
Hey, who
making
cares about that?
vampires.
It's good, dude. Let me tell you what. I like me a fucking hamburger right from McDonald's. Here's the
I
thing.
do too, bro, but not
Right.
McDonald's, bro. That's fine.
I'm not a big health food junkie, and I have to lose weight, but
Hey, it's not a judgment. It's more of like my shift is
hey,
lately
haters
like
gonna hate. We're gonna do it.
no, well, here's the thing. Here's my new rule that I've made in my house is that besides the food that I have now, we're shifting into conscious eating, meaning that if I don't know what the hell an ingredient is, it's not going in my body. And it's going to be a slow change. It's not going to be overnight. It's not going to be like, you're bad if you eat this. It's not like that. I think there's a balance. I
Yeah,
think, but 90% of the food that goes in my body, I want to know what the ingredient is and what it like
right.
what's and where it comes from. That's all.
And you know why
That's all.
you know why you feel that way?
Why?
Because you don't live in Bangladesh.
Yeah.
You fucking live in Bangladesh, you eat anything you can put in your
Eat
fucking mouth
anything you
that's
put in your
edible.
mouth. And the fact that we're lucky enough to not be in that
The
situation, we
system
should have the
allows
response.
you to. That's right.
Correct. We should have the responsibility to, because otherwise it's like, it just
Well,
we'll
all of you
only be eating bugs,
socialists,
right? Let's eat
yeah.
bugs.
In the same way, all of you socialistic people out there need to unfuck yourselves, because it really is, capitalism is the foundation of our wonderful system. And I know you have hard times, and they want it that way. That's the whole thing. Remember, when you got the two parties warring against each other, there's a reason why that happens. If you're in full control, you want to oppress the society to get what you want. And if you have the power to do that, and we allow them to do that, unchecked power to corporations to do anything they want, they are going, it is an absolute race to the bottom. And the best way to articulate it, and I don't have to go on about Nike and how what the fucking shit they do, and the way they've incensed the world to do exactly the same they do, and that is to
Well,
extract
on a
wealth from the
final
United
note, what do
States.
you want to leave it on? I'd say something
Yeah,
impactful, but also a little Tim Dillon,
right.
also a good note.
Fat bottom girls, you make the rocking world go around. um, I don't know. Don't pick on people because they like McDonald's hamburgers. They're fucking pretty tasty, by God.
Well, a man told me not to shy away from controversy, so fuck
Yeah,
your
yeah.
hamburgers.
But isn't it true though? I mean, come on. You could not make a fucking hamburger if you
No,
did
no,
not
I
live here.
understand. I understand what you're saying. Yeah,
Right.
I just
And you damn sure couldn't make no quarter pounder with cheese. I'll tell
I've
you that.
had them, man. I used to love Big Macs, but like
Yeah,
as I've gotten older,
tell me
it's
how you're
like
gonna make the cheese. If you could articulate how to make a fucking slice of cheese and how long that would take,
that's a
just the
whole other
cheese.
thing. I have cheese,
Yeah.
the Kraft singles now. Like I just read, it's like they're made of cheese-like subs. Like, dude,
Yeah.
you look up where gummy bears come from.
Right.
Look up where gummy
Hey,
bears come from.
you know what I learned
That's
you know how I learned how to make the other day?
what
Sticky rice. Do you know how to make sticky rice?
I don't even know what that is.
What?
I don't
Do
know
you like
what it is.
steamed rice?
Yeah,
Well, I can make sticky steamed rice,
what's the
and it is
sticky?
fucking good. It's better than fucking. Well, so I I used to buy these boxes at the frozen food section that had it's sticky rice, right? And I'd make it in the microwave, and it was wonderful. And it's just basically white rice that sticks to itself. It's I don't know, you think that shit came straight out of Japan or something. And it's really good. And my kid um, went off to fucking the Marines, and he did 5 years in the Marines, and he came back, and he's in the kitchen one day just a while ago, and he's making rice, and I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? He's like, oh, I'm making a sticky rice. I said, what? So he made it, and it was fucking off the chart good, dude. It was like,
Yeah,
I was like, oh man. I said, I don't give a shit if you learn nothing in the military but how to make sticky rice.
sticky
It was
rice.
worth it, Michael.
All right, I'll
It
check
was
it out.
it was worth it. I'll take that. That's right.
And his name's Michael, right? Man, it's
Yeah,
got to
his
be
name's
good.
Michael. His name's Michael.
It's
Yeah.
got to be good.
It's a good name. That fucking guy.
All right, final note.
Final note, it's no longer Valentine. Well, we still got 15 minutes of Valentine's Day. I better go give my wife a kiss, but um, you know, it is life is what it is. Don't let Baggione drag you down and tell you can't have Valentine's Day. Give your girl a card, give her a kiss.
Well, that's the beauty of
And,
freedom, right?
yeah,
That you can
hey, and
say
I know
fuck
and look at
Valentine's
me.
Day or you can
Look,
love it.
isn't it like an oxymoron me railing against corporatism and then I say, oh, fucking back of vandalism or
Truth
Valentine's
is
Day is awesome, right?
paradoxical.
Yeah, right. And it really is corporatism. It's trying to influence you to buy shit, but I don't know. Hey, listen to this though. In order for the United States to thrive, in order for capitalism to succeed, the populace must have capital. And it will not do for it to have all these people out of work. I don't give a fuck whether you think you're non-essential or not. You are absolutely essential. You make the world go round in the United States, because when you have money, you can go down and spend money at McDonald's or at the bowling alley or at the movie theater or wherever else that in your community that all these places are shutting down. You are important, because if you don't have money, especially if you're in debt out to your ass, maybe make a decent wage. Maybe you make 60,000 plus a year. But you have $60,000 in debt. If you are indebted to such a degree that you don't have the ability to spend money, then you are a slave, and you do not help your community. You need to be able to spend money on new pants and new car, and you need to. We live in a capitalist society that requires consumerism, and it's okay. But once the well dries up and they shut all these places down, then what are you going to do? If you don't have, and I don't remember which rich guy says he's like a billionaire. He says, I could never buy, I'm just one person. I'm a billionaire. Yeah. But I'm not going to go buy 30 cars. I'm not going to go buy, 400 pairs of pants. He said, we need the average person to have enough money to buy pants and cars and, houses. If those things stop, everything stops. And it sure seems like we're going there. So take your damn mask off, get your ass back to work, and stop being so afraid. That's my final thought.
Maybe we can get David Smiley on here too. We'll get another conversation with him. I think he's been itching, and I think
Yeah.
round two
Okay.
would be
Yeah.
good.
I agree.
But
Let's
we
do it.
appreciate you coming on, Frank. As always, enjoy your conversations.
Yeah. You're a good guy, Becky. You really are.
Appreciate it.